I was never supposed to fall for my coach. That's the first rule of the gym. Keep your eyes on the weights, not on the man correcting your form. Yet there I was, staring at him like he was the only thing keeping me alive. The first time I met Ryan, he didn't smile. Not because he was cold, but because he looked at me the way a sculptor looks at a block of marble, like he could already see what I could become if I just let him shape me. And God, I wanted him to. It was the summer after my father kicked me out. I had no family, no home, just a cheap apartment with peeling paint and an echo that made loneliness louder. My body felt weak, fragile, like my spirit. I wanted to change. I wanted to feel strong. That's why I walked into the gym, clutching a discount trial pass in my trembling hand. He was standing there at the front desk, clipboard in hand, shoulders squared like he carried the whole damn building on his back. Ryan. The name on his badge looked ordinary, but he wasn't. Not to me. First time. He asked, his voice low, steady, with a trace of skepticism. I nodded, avoiding his eyes, because if I met them too soon, I knew something inside me would unravel. All right, follow me. Let's see what you're made of. What he didn't know was that I had nothing left to give. But somehow, that made me want to give him everything. Ryan wasn't gentle, at least not in the way most people imagine. He didn't sugarcoat, didn't offer easy victories. He pushed me, sometimes so hard I thought I'd break. But underneath his clipped commands and unyielding stare, there was something else, something softer he was trying to bury. The first time his hand brushed mine, just a correction. Just professional, I felt my chest tighten like I had been holding my breath for years and only then remembered how to inhale. His touch was fire and restraint, burning and yet hesitant. He pulled away too quickly, jaw clenched, like he knew the danger. I wasn't naive. This was America, small-town conservative, where people like me were whispered about but never accepted. I knew the risk, but knowing didn't stop the way my heart raced when Ryan leaned too close, when his breath tickled the back of my neck as he guided me through a deadlift. You're stronger than you think, he murmured once, and I couldn't tell if he meant my muscles or my heart. The more I came back, the more I felt the lines blur between rep counts and stolen glances. He started asking questions about my day, my past, the dreams I never said aloud. I wanted to hate him for caring. I wanted to hate him for giving me a piece of himself when he knew I was desperate for any kind of love. But then came the night that changed everything. The gym was nearly empty, the kind of quiet where even the hum of fluorescent lights felt too loud. I was pushing through my last set, sweat dripping, arms trembling. Ryan stood behind me, spotting, his hand hovering near my chest as if ready to catch me if I fell. Come on. One more. You've got this. Pushed, teeth gritted, until the weight slammed back into the rack. My chest heaved, lungs burning, but the only thing I could feel was him. When I looked up, his eyes weren't the hard, guarded hazel I'd grown used to. They were raw, exposed. And that's when I said it. The thing I'd been choking back for months. I'm not afraid of being weak, Ryan. I'm afraid of you seeing me like this. His silence cut deeper than any rejection. His throat worked as he swallowed. His jaw flexed, but his hands betrayed him. Because instead of pulling away, they gripped my shoulders, firm and trembling at the same time. You don't know what you're asking, he whispered, voice breaking like a confession. But I did. And I wanted it anyway. The storm came slowly after that. Whispers turned to looks. Looks turned to nights where we stayed too long after closing. Where training bled into stolen conversations. And conversations into touches that lingered far past what could be excused. There was a night when the rain hammered against the gym's glass windows, drowning the world outside. We stood close, closer than ever. the air between us thick with everything we'd denied. My heart pounded so loud I thought it might crack my ribs. He lifted his hand, hesitated, then finally let his fingers trace the edge of my jaw. I closed my eyes, leaning into him like it was the only place I belonged. "This is wrong," he muttered, but his thumb brushed my lips, betraying his words. "Then why does it feel like the only thing that's right?" I whispered back. When his lips finally met mine, it wasn't gentle. It was desperate, like he'd been holding back a flood that finally broke free. I tasted everything he'd hidden: fear, longing, the ache of a man who had built walls so high he never thought anyone could climb them. That kiss didn't fix us. If anything, it shattered us more. Because now, there was no going back. Love wasn't our only enemy. The world outside the gym was colder, harsher, and crueler than the warmth we found pressed against each other. Rumors started about the way Ryan looked at me, about why I was improving so fast under his watch. Some clients left. Some whispered slurs when they thought I couldn't hear. Ryan told me to ignore it, to focus, but I could see the cracks in his armor. He was the strong one, the unbreakable coach everyone admired. Yet I could see the fear gnawing at him, the fear of losing everything if anyone discovered the truth. And maybe that was why I loved him even more. Because strength wasn't about lifting weights or hiding behind walls. Strength was about standing bare in front of the world, scars and all, and saying, "This is who I am." I didn't know if Ryan was ready for that, but I was. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough to save us both. The kiss should have ended the tension, but instead it ignited a war inside both of us. Ryan pulled back, breath ragged, eyes wide with a terror I didn't understand. His chest rose and fell like he had just finished a marathon, though we hadn't moved more than an inch. "We can't do this," he said finally, his voice low, almost pleading. "You don't understand what's at stake." But I did. Maybe not all of it. Maybe not the decades of fear. The silent compromises he had made just to survive in a town where everyone knew your name and judged you for it. But I understood enough. I understood that he was scared of losing everything, while I was scared of losing him. "You think I care what they say?" I shot back, anger and hurt bleeding into every word. "You think I came here, that I stayed here, just to give up because people whisper behind our backs? Ryan, I've lost everything already. You're the only thing I have left." He flinched, and that broke me more than his words. Because I saw the truth in his eyes. He wanted me just as much as I wanted him. He just didn't believe we deserved it. Days after that night felt heavier, as if the air inside the gym carried the weight of everything unsaid. Ryan avoided my gaze, kept his instructions short, his touches fleeting and clinical. The others didn't notice, or maybe they did, but they didn't care. To them, I was just another client pushing through sets. To me, every moment was torture. I wanted to hate him. I wanted to scream, to tell him he was a coward. But instead, I trained harder. Maybe I thought if I proved myself, if I showed him I was strong enough, worthy enough, wouldn't run from me anymore. One evening, when the gym emptied out, I caught him staring. His eyes softened, his jaw unclenched, and in that flicker of weakness, I stepped forward. "You can keep pretending, Ryan," I whispered, close enough that my breath grazed his ear. "But I feel it. Every time you look at me, every time you pull away, you're lying to yourself more than to me." He turned, face tight with restraint, but instead of pushing me away, he asked, almost broken, "Do you have any idea what it cost me to get here? To build this? If they find out, if anyone finds out, everything is gone." "You'll still have me," I said, without hesitation. For the first time, he looked at me like I wasn't just a student, like I was something he needed. The storm outside mirrored the one inside him. Rain pounded the glass. Thunder rolled over the roof. He didn't speak, didn't move. He just reached out, fingers brushing the back of my hand before curling into a grip so tight it felt like an anchor. That night, he didn't kiss me again. He didn't have to. The silence between us screamed louder than anything words could carry. Weeks turned into months. We became shadows in our own story-hidden glances. Stolen moments when no one was watching. Times, I hated the secrecy. Times, I felt like nothing more than a dirty secret he couldn't let go of. But then he'd hold me when the world slept. When the gym lights shut down and the only sound was our breathing. And I knew it wasn't shame keeping him silent. It was fear. Fear of being destroyed. Fear of being free. The rumors didn't stop. They grew. One night, I overheard two men laughing near the locker room. Coach has a new favorite. One of them snickered. Funny how fast that kid's making progress. Wonder what he's doing to earn all that special attention. Their laughter cut sharper than any blade. I stormed out before they could see me cry. When I told Ryan, his face turned to stone. He clenched his fists so hard his knuckles went white. But he didn't say a word. "You're not even going to defend me," I shouted. "You're just going to let them say whatever the hell they want." "It doesn't matter what they say," he muttered. "It matters to me." My voice cracked. Because it's not just whispers anymore. Ryan, that's my name they're dragging through the dirt. And you're letting them. He looked at me then, eyes blazing, not with anger at me, but at himself. "If I fight them, proves them right. Don't you get it? Silence is the only protection we have." "No," I said, stepping closer, chest heaving. "Silence isn't protection. The surrender." The room felt too small for both our truths. That night, I didn't stay. I left the gym before he could stop me. Before he could say something that would make me forgive him again. Back in my apartment, the loneliness felt sharper than ever. I thought about leaving town, about starting over somewhere no one knew me. But then I thought of him, Ryan, broken behind his walls, trapped by his own fear, and I realized I couldn't walk away. Not yet. I needed to make him see that what we had wasn't a weakness. It was the only strength that mattered. The breaking point came sooner than I expected. It was a Saturday morning. The gym crowded with people. I was mid-set when one of the ones from the locker room made a comment loud enough for everyone to hear. "Careful with him, Coach. Wouldn't want your boyfriend to pull a muscle." The room went silent. My stomach dropped. All eyes turned toward me, toward Ryan. My heart slammed against my ribs. This was it. The moment he'd choose between me and the mask he wore for the world. Ryan froze. His hands gripped the bar I was holding, steadying me. But his eyes, they flickered with something wild, something dangerous. For a second, I thought he'd deny it, laugh it off, prove them wrong. But he didn't. Instead, he straightened, looked the man dead in the eyes, and said with a calm I didn't expect, "Watch your mouth." The room erupted in whispers. I felt my throat close, my chest tighten. He hadn't admitted it, but he hadn't denied it either. It was the smallest crack in his walls, but it was enough. Later, when the crowd thinned and the tension settled, he pulled me aside. His hands shook as he held my face, his forehead pressing against mine. "I can't lose this gym," he whispered. "But I can't lose you either." Tears burned my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. Instead, I whispered back, "Then stop trying to live two different lives. Choose one. Choose me." And for the first time, I saw him start to believe he could. But belief is fragile, and the world has a cruel way of testing it. Because the very next week, The gym owner called Ryan into his office. And when he came out, his face was pale, his eyes dark with something I hadn't seen before. "They know," he said simply. The ground beneath me seemed to vanish. "They know." 2 words that shattered the fragile world we had built. 2 words that stripped away every excuse we had clung to. I stared at Ryan, searching for more, searching for hope in his eyes. But all I found was fear. "What did they say?" My voice cracked, thin and desperate. Ryan shook his head, running a trembling hand through his hair. "They didn't need to say much. The complaints, the remorse, it's enough. The owner said clients are starting to talk. He told me to fix it before it ruins the gym's reputation." Fix it. My heart twisted. What does that even mean? Ryan. Pretend. Throw me away. His silence cut deeper than any words could. His shoulders slumped. And for the first time, Ryan, the man who carried every weight without flinching, looked defeated. That night, the gym felt like a cage. I watched him train others, his smile tight, his voice steady, but I could see the storm in his eyes. Every time they flicked toward me, guilt burned behind them. After closing, when the last of the clients left, I confronted him. "Are you really going to let them decide for you?" I asked, chest heaving with the anger I had swallowed all day. He turned to me, his jaw clenched. "It's not just about me. It's about the business, the staff, everyone who relies on this place. If I lose it, I lose everything I've worked for." "And what about me?" I demanded. "What about us? Do we mean so little to you that you'll throw it away because some people whisper?" His face softened, but his voice broke. "You mean too much. That's why this is so damn hard." I wanted to scream, to shake him, to force him to see that love wasn't the enemy. Fear was. But all I could do was stand there, my chest aching, my throat raw with unshed tears. The next few weeks were hell. Ryan tried to create distance, speaking to me only when necessary, keeping his hands shoved deep in his pockets when he wanted to touch me, turning away when our eyes met. But love doesn't vanish just because it's inconvenient. It grows in silence, in the stolen seconds when no one is watching. One night, after everyone had left, I found him sitting alone on the bench, head bowed, hands clasped together like he was praying for strength. I sat beside him, close enough for our shoulders to brush. "You can push me away all you want," I whispered, "but I'm not going anywhere." He exhaled sharply, as if my words hurt more than they healed. Then, without warning, he grabbed my hand, gripping it like a lifeline. His voice was rough when he finally spoke. "I'm so damn tired of hiding." That was the first crack in the wall he had built around himself. We started meeting outside the gym, careful, cautious. Coffee shops 2 towns over. Walks at night where no one could see us. Every stolen moment was both a blessing and a curse, proof of what we could have, and a reminder of how fragile it all was. But love, once tasted, demands more, and soon, stolen moments weren't enough. One evening, I invited him over to my apartment. He hesitated at the door, scanning the hallway as if expecting judgment to be hiding in the shadows. "You're safe here," I said softly. When he finally stepped inside, the tension in his shoulders didn't ease until the door shut behind him. He looked around at the tiny space, the peeling paint, the second-hand furniture. It wasn't much, but it was mine. And when he turned back to me, something in his eyes shifted. No gym, no clients, no whispers, just me. "I don't deserve you," he murmured, his voice rough with emotion. I stepped closer, pressing a hand against his chest, feeling the steady thunder of his heart. "Then let me be the one to decide that." That night, for the first time, there were no walls, no fear, just us. But happiness, it seemed, was a luxury we weren't allowed to keep for long. The rumors intensified. Someone had seen us together outside town. Someone had followed us. And then came the message slipped under Ryan's office door, a single line scrawled in ugly handwriting. If you don't end it, we'll make sure everyone knows. Ryan showed me the note, his hands shaking. They're threatening you, he whispered. They're threatening us. I felt the blood drain from my face. Fear twisted in my stomach. But beneath it burned something fiercer. They don't scare me, I said, though my voice trembled. They want us to hide, Ryan. If we do, they win. But Ryan's eyes were full of dread. If they go public, I lose the gym. I lose everything. I took his face in my hands, forcing him to look at me. You won't lose me. He closed his eyes, as if the weight of those words was too much to bear. The following days were suffocating. Every glance from a client felt loaded. Every laugh in the locker room felt like it was about us. Ryan grew more withdrawn, his temper short, his nights restless. I tried to hold him, to remind him that we were stronger together. But the fear gnawed at him from the inside. And then came the confrontation that tore us apart. I can't do this anymore, he said one night, his voice hollow. My world froze. What do you mean? He turned away, his fists clenched. You deserve someone who isn't afraid. Someone who can give you a future without hiding in the shadows. I can't be that man. Tears blurred my vision, but I refused to let them fall. So you're just going to give up? After everything? After all we fought for? His voice broke. I'm trying to protect you. No, I snapped, my heart shattering with every word. You're trying to protect yourself. And in the process, you're destroying us. The silence that followed was unbearable. And when he finally walked out the door, I felt like the air had been ripped from my lungs. For the first time, I realized that love alone might not be enough. The night Ryan left, the silence swallowed me whole. My apartment felt colder, emptier, as if he had taken every ounce of warmth with him. I lay awake staring at the cracked ceiling, his words echoing like a curse. I can't do this anymore. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face, not the strong, unshakable coach everyone admired, but the broken man who kissed me like I was air and then pushed me away like I was poison. I told myself I'd get over him, that I'd throw myself into training, into work, into anything but the hole he'd left in my chest. But no matter how many hours I spent lifting, no matter how hard I tried to sweat him out of my system, his ghost lingered. Days blurred together. I avoided the gym, too afraid to see him, too terrified of what would happen if I did. But staying away felt like cutting off a piece of myself. The place where I'd first found strength now felt like forbidden ground. One evening, desperate for distraction, I wandered through town. The rain had just started, thin at first, then heavier, drenching me in minutes. I shoved my hands in my pockets, head down. But then I saw through the glowing windows of a diner. Ryan sitting alone in a booth, staring into a cup of coffee like it held all the answers. For a moment, couldn't breathe. Part of me wanted to burst inside, demand answers, demand him. Another part of me froze, afraid of rejection, of reopening wounds that hadn't even begun to heal. Instead, I stood in the rain, watching him. He looked older, wearier, like the weight he carried had doubled since the last time I saw him. And in that moment, I realized he wasn't just punishing me. He was punishing himself too. But knowing that didn't make it hurt any less. Weeks passed. The rumors at the gym had reached me even without stepping foot inside. People said Ryan wasn't the same. that he was shorter with clients, that his fire had dimmed. Some whispered he was drinking more. Others said he'd lost focus. I wanted to go to him, to hold him, to tell him we could survive this together. But pride held me back. Pride, and the fear that maybe he had chosen the life without me. One night, my phone lit up with his name. My heart leapt, but my hand froze above the screen. When I finally answered, his voice was rough, low, heavy with something I couldn't place. "I shouldn't be calling," he said. "Then why are you?" My voice was sharp, defensive, but underneath it trembled with hope. Silence stretched on the line, broken only by his uneven breathing. Then, finally, "Because I miss you." My knees gave out, and I sank to the floor. Tears filled my eyes, but my voice steadied. "Then why did you leave?" He inhaled sharply, as if the question hurt. "Because I thought it was the only way to protect you." "Protect me from what, Ryan?" My voice cracked. "From love, from happiness, or from the parts of yourself you're too afraid to face?" He didn't answer, and in the silence, I realized he still wasn't ready. So I whispered, "Call me again when you are," and hung up before the sob in my throat could break me. The pain of that call cut deeper than the night he walked out. At least then, I could pretend he didn't love me. Now I knew he did, and he was still too afraid to choose me. I spiraled. Nights blurred into mornings, the clock ticking without meaning. My body felt heavier, my chest tighter. For the first time, training didn't save me. For the first time, I felt like I was drowning, and there was no one to pull me up. Until one night, when I found myself outside the gym, staring at its glowing lights through the rain. My hand trembled on the door, but I couldn't walk away. Not anymore. Inside, the smell of sweat and iron hit me like a wave. And then I saw him, Ryan, across the room, his back to me, spotting another client. His voice steady, his stance strong, but even from a distance I could see it was empty. When his eyes finally landed on me, the barbell nearly slipped from his hands. His jaw tightened, his chest rose sharply, but he didn't look away. Not this time. I walked toward him, every step fueled by the weeks of silence, of pain, of love unspoken. When I stopped in front of him, I didn't care about the others watching. I didn't care about whispers. "Talk to me," I said simply. His throat worked, his fists clenched, but his eyes softened. For a moment, I thought he'd push me away again. But instead, he exhaled a shaky breath and said, "Not here." We ended up back at my apartment, sitting on opposite ends of the couch like strangers. The air was thick with everything unsaid. Finally, Ryan spoke. "I've been lying to myself my whole life," he admitted, his voice hoarse. "Pretending I didn't feel things. Pretending I didn't want this. But with you, I can't pretend. And it terrifies me." "Do you think it's easy for me?" I shot back, tears brimming. "Do you think I don't wake up every day wondering if loving you will destroy me? But I'd rather be destroyed with you than safe without you." His eyes glistened, and for once, he didn't try to hide it. He leaned forward, burying his face in his hands. "I don't know how to be brave." I moved closer, gently prying his hands away. "Then let me show you." For the first time, he didn't resist. He let me pull him into my arms, let himself collapse against me, strong body shaking with the weight of everything he'd carried alone. And in that embrace, I realized something. Maybe we weren't strong enough yet to face the world. But together, we could learn to be. Yet love isn't enough to erase fear overnight. We still lived in shadows, still tiptoed around the fire waiting to consume us. But now, at least, We faced it together. The night he finally kissed me again. It wasn't desperate or stolen. It was slow, certain. A vow whispered against my lips. I'm not letting go this time. And for the first time, I believed him. But the world wasn't done testing us. Because just when I thought we were finding our footing, the owner of the gym gave Ryan an ultimatum. Or his career. You can laugh all you want at the idea of love starting with sweat, chalk, and sore muscles. But the truth is I have never felt more alive than in that small, echoing gym where the clank of iron was drowned out by the unspoken pull between me and him. Pain built me, but love saved me. By the time the final chapter of our story came crashing down on me, I had lost nearly everything: me pride, my sense of belonging, the fragile armor I had spent years constructing. And still, standing across from him, with his fists balled at his sides and his eyes begging me not to give up on us, I realized I had already won. Because I had his heart. Coach Davis wasn't just a man carved by discipline and routine. He was a man who secretly wrote poetry in his head when he thought no one was watching. He was a man who had learned to hide softness under layers of sweat and masculinity. And somehow, against all odds, he had chosen me. But our love had been tested. The whispers in the locker rooms. The backlash from the town. The betrayal from those who had once called themselves my friends. And still through every bruise, every sleepless night, every tear swallowed down in silence who stood, I will never forget the night everything changed. The gym was quiet, the world outside muffled by snowfall. He reached for my hand across the empty bench press rack. His palm rough but warm. You don't have to keep proving yourself. He whispered, voice cracking in a way I had never heard before. Not to them. Not to me. You've already done enough. Tears burned my eyes because I had carried the weight of needing to be strong for so long. Yet here he was, the man who taught me how to lift, telling me I could finally set it down. I leaned into him, resting my forehead against his chest. His heartbeat was unsteady, trembling, alive. And I knew in that moment, every rep, every fight, every sleepless night had led me here to him. Then don't let me go, I said, my voice breaking. He pulled me closer. Never. From then on, the world didn't magically soften. People still talked. Some turned their backs. But others, surprisingly, leaned in support I hadn't expected. Slowly, the gym stopped feeling like a battlefield and started feeling like home. We worked together, side by side, training others, building a space where strength wasn't just about muscles, but about surviving yourself. The young kids who came in scared to be different found in us something real, proof that you could be both strong and vulnerable, masculine and tender, disciplined yet utterly in love. Coach Davisno, Ethan, because by then I could finally call him by his name without shame, was more than my coach. More than my lover. He was the man who taught me that strength isn't about lifting the most weight. It's about holding someone's heart when the world tells you to drop it. And me, I stopped hiding. I stopped apologizing for the way I loved him. I let my story be known, because silence is the heaviest weight anyone can carry. Years later, when people see us walking hand in hand down the same streets that once whispered about us, I know what they're thinking. Maybe they still judge. Maybe they still wonder. But what matters is what I feel every time his fingers brush mine. I am no longer fighting alone. The truth is, I never wanted a hero. I wanted someone who would stay, even when I was too broken to keep lifting. And somehow, in the most unlikely of places, I found him. And in the end, love didn't just change us. It made us stronger than iron. Unshakable as stone, tender as the first breath after a storm. Because strength fades, muscles weaken, records are broken. But love, the kind we built, raw and relentless, doesn't. It only grows. And that is the only weight I will carry until my last breath. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.